91% of America's wealthiest people were not born rich. That's not a motivational quote. That's data from Federal Reserve wealth surveys, and it points to something most people get completely backwards about money. Here's the uncomfortable part. Roughly 60% of Americans earning over $100,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. Not broke, not unemployed, 6 figures, and still one missed paycheck away from trouble. So if income isn't the answer, what actually separates someone who builds real wealth from someone who just earns a lot of money and spends it? There's one principle, not a secret, not a formula, not some hidden trick the rich don't want you to know. It's simple enough to state in a single sentence, and almost nobody follows it consistently. Build productive assets before you expand your lifestyle. That's it. That's the whole thing. But the way that plays out in real financial decisions, that's where it gets interesting. Let's start with the difference between income and wealth, because people use these words like they mean the same thing, and they don't. Income is what flows in. Wealth is what stays. A surgeon making $400,000 a year with a leased Mercedes, a mortgage on a house at the edge of what he can afford, and private school tuition for 2 kids can have a net worth close to zero. Meanwhile, a small business owner making $90,000 a year, driving a 10-year-old Honda, and consistently buying index funds and rental property can be worth more than the surgeon by his mid-40s. Same country, same tax code, wildly different outcomes. The variable isn't income, it's what happens to the money after it arrives. This is where assets and liabilities matter, and most people learned the wrong definition somewhere along the way. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out. A rental property that generates cash flow is an asset. A car is a liability. It loses value the moment you drive it off the lot, and it costs you money in insurance, gas, and depreciation every single month you own it. Here's the part most people miss. A lot of what gets marketed as a symbol of success is actually a liability wearing a nice suit. The boat, the oversized house, the luxury SUV on a 5-year loan. None of these generate income. All of them consume it. Now think about opportunity cost, because this is the concept that quietly determines who gets rich and who doesn't. Every dollar you spend is a dollar that can no longer do anything else. Spend $500 a month on a car upgrade, and that's $500 a month that isn't going into an index fund. At an average 8% annual return, $500 a month invested for 30 years becomes roughly $700,000. Not from the car payment itself, from what that money would have become if it had been put to work instead. That's the real price of the car, not the sticker price, the $700,000 it costs you in the future. And this is exactly why wealthy investors think about money differently than most people do. They're not asking, what can I buy today? They're asking, what will this dollar become in 10 years? It sounds like a small mental shift. It is not small at all. It changes literally every purchasing decision that follows it. Let's talk about lifestyle inflation, because this is the trap that catches high earners specifically, and it's sneaky because it doesn't feel like a mistake while it's happening. Someone gets a promotion. Salary jumps from $70,000 to $100,000. That's $30,000 extra dollars a year. A reasonable person might upgrade their apartment, get a nicer car, start eating out more. Each choice feels justified in isolation. You earned it, right? But add them up, and that entire $30,000 raise gets absorbed. Net worth doesn't move. The person feels wealthier because their spending increased, but their actual financial position is exactly where it started. This happens at every income level, which is the part that surprises people. It happens to someone going from $40,000 to $60,000. It happens to executives going from $300,000 to $500,000. The dollar amounts change, the pattern doesn't. Here's a number that puts this in perspective. If that same $30,000 raise had instead been split, half toward lifestyle, half toward investments, and that $15,000 a year got invested consistently at 8% annual growth. In 20 years, it becomes over $700,000. Same raise, same person, two completely different financial futures, depending entirely on where the money went first. Now, compound growth is the part people nod along to without actually absorbing, so let's slow down on it. $10,000 invested today at 8% annual return becomes about $21,000 in 10 years. That part feels intuitive, but leave it alone for 30 years and it becomes over $100,000. The growth in the last 10 years alone is larger than the entire initial investment. That's not linear. That's exponential, and it's why the timing of when you start investing matters more than almost any other financial decision you'll make. Two people. Person A invests $200 a month starting at age 25. Person B invests the same $200 a month but starts at 35. Both stop contributing at 65. Assuming 8% average returns, Person A ends up with roughly $700,000. Person B ends up with around $300,000. Same monthly amount, same return rate. Person A only contributed for 10 extra years, but ends up with more than double. That gap isn't from working harder, it's from time doing the work instead. This is why delayed gratification isn't really about discipline for its own sake. It's not about deprivation, and it's definitely not about never enjoying your money. It's about sequencing. Asset first, lifestyle second, because the earlier that money starts compounding, the less total money you actually need to put in to reach the same outcome. But let's be direct about something, because this video isn't interested in oversimplifying wealth into a single rule that guarantees success. This is not a magic formula. Plenty of disciplined investors still face setbacks, market downturns, unexpected expenses, health issues, industries that disappear. Not every person who prioritizes assets over lifestyle ends up wealthy, and not every wealthy person did it this exact way. What's true is narrower and more useful than a guarantee. People who consistently direct new income toward productive assets before lifestyle upgrades dramatically improve their odds of building lasting wealth. That's a pattern, not a promise. So what does productive capital allocation actually look like in practice without getting complicated about it? It means when money comes in, a raise, a bonus, freelance income, a tax refund, the first question is where it can generate more value over time. Index funds, a retirement account with an employer match, which is free money left on the table if it's ignored. Paying down high-interest debt, which functions as a guaranteed return equal to whatever interest rate you're being charged. Reinvesting profit back into a business instead of pulling it out as personal spending money. None of this is exciting. There's no dopamine hit from buying an index fund. Nobody posts their 401k contribution on social media. And that's precisely why so few people stick with it. It's boring. And boring doesn't compete well against instant gratification. But boring, repeated consistently over 20 or 30 years, is what actually produces financial independence. Flashy, repeated over the same time period, produces someone who looks successful and has almost nothing to show for it when the income stops. There's a quiet kind of relief that comes with this approach, too. Not the adrenaline of a big purchase, something steadier. Watching a number in an account grow every year regardless of what happens with a promotion or a bonus. That's a different kind of financial security than the one built on how much you're currently earning. Because income can disappear. Assets that are already working for you don't stop just because a job does. So here's the single sentence to take from this content. Wealth isn't created by how much money passes through your hands. It's created by how much of it you convert into something that keeps working after you stop. That's the whole rule. Assets before lifestyle. Every single time a dollar shows up, that's the question worth asking before anything else. If this changed how you think about your next paycheck, subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from. And here's what I want to know. What purchase taught you the biggest financial lesson of your life?